Welcome to this next episode of the Tiger interview series with the Coaches Spotlight. And the person that I'm interviewing today is a good friend of mine, Tim Jones. He is the head of the Pittsburgh area for the Tigers, but he has been coaching for over 20 years, and he brings a lot of cool insights, a lot of great insights into coaching and approaches it in a different manner than most. So I hope you enjoy. Also, he also has a old school mentality, even though we're pretty much the same age. But I love talking with him because it kind of changes my perspective on certain things and how I approach my players. So enjoy this episode with Tim Jones.
This is a Rawlings Tigers podcast episode.
I interviewed Grayson, interviewed DJ, obviously our director, you're super in golf. That's how they started, was in coaching, and then they started saying, hey, I could do more teams. So it's just a great fit. And then you've also done the national team. So give me like your macro forest view outlook on coaching and how you approach a team.
I'd say the best way to put it is you got to make it about people. You have to see how people fit. You can't have the best across the board if they don't mesh. It doesn't matter. I kind of tie it into the way the world is now with NIL money. You can buy the best team on the planet. Doesn't mean they're going to play together. Doesn't mean that their desires will be the same across the board. So for me, it's finding the right group of guys that are hungry enough and excited enough to be willing to sacrifice for the greater good overall. Someone that's willing to grind, someone's willing to go in there and push each other and explain things to each other. And when I see my guys coaching each other, that's a kid that I want. You can give me an undersized kid that works his ass off, I'll take him all day long. Versus a kid who runs his mouth and thinks he's God's gift of baseball, really hasn't been tested yet. And whenever things hit the fan, he crumbles right away. He can't handle it under pressure. You can kind of pick those things up when I think the best way to look at it now, being older, you have to learn how to listen. You have to open yourself up. You have to expose yourself. And a lot of people, I think, are afraid to expose themselves. Where if you ask open-ended questions and you actively listen, you learn way more than a script. So you can't just sell a script. You're selling yourself. And how many people are capable of selling themselves? Well, yourself is the culture. That's who they're coming to play for. That's why people want to be here. And if you sell yourself and you get those people that have bought into that product or that culture, they're going to dive headfirst in. And when you do it right and you sustain it enough, they maintain the culture for you. They bring in the other players that you need to add those pieces. They also catch the new players up to speed rather quickly without you having to do it. You'll have much greater success. When they finally realize failure isn't the biggest obstacle facing them, that it's just a bad day, you have much greater success. You have much more competitive baseball games, and then you have much better opportunities to play at the next level. I think it all starts with that culture, and you kind of start where you want to take on the world. You think you know it all. Realize pretty quickly that you don't. And you have to surround yourself, and you have to connect with them as human beings, and you have to relate to them, and you have to understand both the mental, the physical, and the emotional side of how to connect with them. It's a very, very important piece.
How do I want to phrase this? Do you speak in narratives a lot to your team, or is it pretty just clear cut, dry, like we're going to do X, Y, and Z? It's very like stoic. Or do you speak more in like story format, narrative format to get people into that culture? Because like I view it two different ways, is that a stoic mentality can also get that culture that you want in an indirect way. And then also you can get that narrative side where you're telling stories constantly and you're speaking a lot and just engulfing yourself with the players. How do you approach it?
Honestly, I think you take that stoic side, and that's more in your platform and how you build out your training, but you have to do the story mode side, like all in or all out. You have to commit to excellence. So what does that mean? Your excellence is different than me. Sometimes we forget that the way that we perceive things isn't always the same way someone else is understanding it or digesting it. So if you use more of that storyline, you can relate to them more. Once you relate to them, you connect to them on a different level. It's a much different pathway to get it there. And if you do that where you're kind of flipping your verbiage to a different one, I think if you're more stoic, then you're kind of just preaching from a notebook. Like you've written down what you want to say. There's nothing behind it. It's just words. Whereas if you do the storyline, you're connecting with them on a different level. And I might have to give you a different story to someone else, or that one story, you might be the protagonist and I'm the antagonist. And how do I tie us together? So I have to use that more in a team culture mentality.
It probably sticks with the player a little bit more too when you're speaking from different interactions that you've had over the years, and you're able to grab specific things that happened in your life and try to incorporate it into the team. I'm sure you get more buy-in that way.
It's a big difference. Like I think if you take a coach, like you do hitting lessons, right? If you're doing hitting with me or I'm doing hitting with you and I say, I think we should try this. How much confidence do you have in me? But just by using that simple term, think, right? If I say, hey, you know what? We've actually taken a look at a couple of these things. We've tried some new things out, and we've opted to go the path of working on this drill with this verbiage for a specific reason, because it's more relatable. And I think I want you to feel this versus I think we should try this. I want you to feel this. And once you start to feel this, it'll start to click a little bit. Now we can progress to the next side. So just chase this feel. And it to me, it flips the mindset a little bit. It kind of settles you down and it gets you to focus on just that feel instead of, all right, well, he thinks we should try this. If it doesn't work, well, you thought wrong. If I say we've tested it or we've rolled this out because we put so much time and energy into it and we want you to feel this. And once we feel this, now it's important for you to get here. Now we can take the logical side or whatever the case is. I think it makes it a little bit different too, because if you use those key words, you get more of an instant buy-in because the confidence level is through the roof. And if they have confidence in you and you're just breathing confidence into them, way better things are going to come out of it, no matter what.
How do you form a team?
It's a good question. That's got to be a loaded question in a nutshell, because if you have an established, really one answer,
That's why I phrased it that way. I didn't add any context to it because there's a lot of things that when you just say, how do you form a team or how do you add a player, there's many routes that you can take. And I feel like that's the original question that a lot of people land on is, how do I form a team? And then they don't know what to do next.
I think they need to just simplify it. Break it down. Go back to the fun route. When did you have the most fun? Who has the most fun in baseball? It's the little kids, right? They're just there to show up and they want to hit bombs. They want to have fun. They want to have fun with their teammates. They're loud. They're crazy. They're more animated. They're excited, but they're all brand new. And if you sit back and you watch some of those younger kids enough, they're more open to having these conversations. Where you hit high school, it's like everyone's a brand new super hot chick walking down the hall. They're afraid to talk to each other. So I think if you go down to it and just make it, let's have some fun. Let's see some kids that are hungry that want to work. Let's see some kids that want to show up every day, day in and day out. Their dads are asking great questions. Their parents are really bought in. Like, hey, I really want to have this experience. Like my kid sat a lot last year. My kid, we played in the same tournaments every weekend. Like, it just wasn't fun. If you listen to those, you get some of those kids that are really excited about the game of baseball. They have some pretty good skill. I don't care if you're an A elite player at 12U because you're 12. You haven't hit puberty. I don't care if you're a C level player. If you have passion and excitement, I'm going to take a group of those guys that are capable of playing that game, and I'm going to end with a great season because I'm going to pair them up appropriately. And if I'm honest and upfront with them, and I say, hey, look, I want to build you guys up. I want to start small. It's a brand new team. We have to be able to make mistakes without having it destroy us in a 20-run game. So let's build you guys up. Let's go to an A team. But if I have that fireness and I have that excitedness and as people are in, not only did I get the kids there, but their parents are excited about bringing them there. And now, whatever I have, to be honest, we don't know what we have right now. We just have tryouts. So you really have no idea what you have. But I got 12 kids that are ready to go and they show up every single week. Do I need anything else? Because I can mold them into whatever I want.
I guess that gets into a deeper question is like talent wise, do you care what talent that you get for that team?
It's important because you don't want to have someone that's very high level with someone that's just starting to play the game. Number one, safety is a big problem. Number two, that kid's probably not going to play that much if he's just starting out. There's really no point in having him there. Like, what value does he have for the team other than you're giving him a group of friends? So you want to make it as equal as possible. If you have the majority of the kids are more of an A-level team, and continue to look for those A-level type players. And maybe you have a borderline B-level guy that is about to level up. He just hasn't had the right coaching. He hasn't been in the right atmosphere. If you have more of a B-level team, you don't want to add someone that's a high-level elite guy to that team because he's going to feel like he's the best player. When he puts his head down, you're going to see every one of those kids. They're going to start to follow suit. If he's not playing well, they fail because they can't do it. And then if you take someone that's brand new, then they're brand new. You have no idea what the expectations are. They could go out there and kill it. They could go out there and be the worst ball player on the team. I think you have to make it within a realm, within an average, whether you use a number system, whatever the case is, but you have to make it as equal as possible. I don't think people should really care what level they are, especially when they're young. Go out there and play.
At what age would you say that you should care about the level?
The most honest answer I'll give anyone, which will say this, baseball is purely development until you get meaningful reps in high school, varsity. So it doesn't really matter where you are until you hit that level. When you hit that level, continue to build up. I think there's far too many young players that are 9 that just want to see their kids on TV before they really know how to play the game. So if you have that group, that's more of an exposure type team that you want to travel a lot. You have to know your audience. For us,
Are you saying like status, like people are too worried about status rather than like making sure that they're at the right level?
yeah, there's a lot of parents in this world because of the way social media in the world is. They care more about, we call it watercolor chalk. They want to showcase their kids. They don't know how to do it appropriately. They'd rather showcase the trophies, and they don't really care if their kid plays or not. They just win. So they feel like they're a winner versus the parent that saw the pictures and images about their kid who's dominating on the mound. Maybe he went 4 for 4, his first home run. Like, that's the excitement that we want. I think that there's more of a bigger push where kids don't care. Kids know their level. They know where they want to be. They know where they want to play. Parents want more than sometimes the kids do, and what I've experienced so far. I think the best way to put it is a lot of people feel that they're higher level than what they are, but the second that they get their butts kicked, they'll blame everyone else. So you have to pair it up appropriately. So I'd rather deal with headaches or conversations saying we're going to play in a B tournament versus an open elite tournament, where maybe we go 500 in that B tournament, maybe we go to the championship, right? Versus, well, we're 0-3 and we lost a total combined 48-0 in 4 innings. What did we learn in 4 innings? We didn't learn anything other than we have to work harder. Now there's finger pointing, there's name blaming, whatnot. I think the best way to do it is if you're open and honest about their development. I'm not going to lie. I'm going to be very honest. We went back to old school. I know I'm a little bit older than you, but not by much. So think back when you played. How many age groups did you play with when you were a kid? 2, 4, or did you play same age baseball?
I remember specifically, I had, me and Grayson talked about this the other day, was that I'm at the borderline age group, so I could go out and play down or play up. And then I ended up playing up, which then led me to multiple teams seeing me play because of back then it was a closed-knit community. It was an association. So when you're playing, you knew everybody, especially older ages, and coaches would ask, older teams would ask if I would want to sub in for them for specific games. So I'd played almost 2 years up, and sometimes even 3 years up in specific games, but I didn't really play in those games. It was mostly I was there for the backup. But yeah, I definitely played 2 years up.
So this is what we started this year. 10U baseball is 9 and 10-year-olds. 12U baseball is 11 and 12-year-olds. Middle school baseball truly is 13 and 14-year-olds. They're just starting to learn how to play on that 60-90 field, so we combined them. Our secondary 16U team, that is called a JV team. That is your freshmen and your sophomores that aren't quite in varsity. So we're pairing it appropriately and visually for them when they're starting to understand. Yes, a softball. Exactly what softball does.
Is that where you got the idea?
It is more so where I got the idea. And I also got the idea because a lot of our rec programs are doing travel where we're training them now. And every single team that comes in is a double age. It's starting to, when I played, it was 9, 10, 11, and 12-year-olds. When I was 9, I didn't play. Didn't play at all. I was 10, I didn't play much. And then I earned my way. And then I played up, right? And then in the high school with some of the older guys, they're in that paradox. We had a kid that's started 93 committed to West Virginia right now as a verbal. And he was a freshman last year. He played for us for half the season, but then he also played on a 15U team and dominated everyone. So he's technically playing down, right? Play up. Well, what's high school now? High school now is 14 to 19-year-olds. College, it's a little bit of a gap. Certain people are afraid to play up because their kids are smaller or they hit puberty faster. So there's this weird paradox. So why don't we start to look at other sports to kind of get a better feel? What does wrestling do? We could be the same age. You could be 6 feet. I could be 4 foot. We ain't playing in the same weight. So why don't we do it appropriately that way too, right? So we started looking at other ways to make it more efficient across the board, if that makes sense.
Have you ever told a player that you've had on your team that he's way above this level right now, and then told him that he needs to find a different team?
No, but I will say this, and I'm proud of this. We had a kid who played for another program for 4 years, had 4 different coaches, didn't really have any, he kind of stagnated in his development. Okay. Kid's a high-level baseball player. He's a good ball player, but he also plays hockey, so he misses a lot of training. We put him on our 16U showcase team. And his dad told me flat out, hey, if at any point in time you feel that he's not quite ready for it, I don't really care if he plays on the second team. I just want him to get reps and get better. That means that tells me we're doing it right and we're selling it appropriately, because that's what it's about. In my estimation, but there are times where guys, we have high aspirations, they don't quite get it, or we put them up there, and usually the piece that they're lacking is the mental or the confidence side. So we will drop them down. We've done that, and we've explained it to him. Look, we need to get you more mentally tougher overall. We want you to be a leader. We want you to get yourself so we can appropriately showcase who you are. If we continue where we are, you're going to lose opportunities. I don't want you to sit the bench. I want you to play, because that's how you get better. And if we explain it the right way and we do it open and honest, and I feel more people are afraid just to have those honest, frank conversations, it actually means I care about your kid. Sometimes it doesn't go the way that you expect, but you have to be okay and know that going into it. But if you actually care about that kid and you have that relationship with those parents, they understand it, and then they get excited because they know their kids are going to play a hell of a lot more. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. From a development standpoint, what are the key pillars for you on producing better players and actually competing at the level that they need to be competing at?
Sure. Mental toughness is a big one. I think understanding the game within the game is not necessarily something that's taught as often as it needs to be. We still have high schoolers don't know how to back up on normal plays or just the basics.
So time out there. So mental toughness, that can go in 2 different directions. And so
Sure.
Possibly in multiple different directions. So you just said mental toughness, game within the game, but then you started going into strategy and how you play the game, knowing the rules of the board game, essentially. So is that what you mean by mentally tough, or do you mean something different?
I would say it's probably paired up 2 different ways. One, understanding how to simplify the game and accept failure. So what's your objective? I have to have a productive AB. Okay, so if you need to have a productive AB, let's not go the mental weak side of blaming the umpire and throwing equipment and throwing a tantrum because we swung a 12 out of 10 out of our shoes and we couldn't even see the baseball no matter where it was and we missed it by a mile and a half, versus, hey man, look, I went 0 for 4 today, but I had 4 hit and runs. And we got 3 runs out of it. We won the game. We're playing again tomorrow. I'm excited, And then as soon as I'm done with that, I'm congratulating you because you just threw a 2-hitter, and I'm excited. Like understanding where the play is supposed to be, understanding the game, understanding what they need to do, but also understanding how to take their training, how to clean, how to do things appropriately. Because when you get to college, you're in pods, you're expected to do extra work. You kind of get an idea who's going to be there and who's going to stay because they put in the extra work. We pride ourselves on preparing our guys for college. We run our winter program as close to a college program as possible. And that's where we kind of decipher between the teams where, are you mentally tough enough to handle failure? And how do you handle the failure? Are you tough enough to handle basic criticism? But it's not necessarily like harsh criticism. It's just, we're going to tell you what you need to hear. Right now, you mentally eat yourself alive when you're on the mound. I can see your knuckles when you throw the baseball. We have to move past that. We have to find a way to get past that. So if that's something that they struggle with, that's just mental maturity. And they need to learn how to control their emotions and accept failure, accept the outcome once they release the baseball. So that's a bigger piece of it that I think a lot of people can't, because they want that end goal of, I want a championship. I threw a no-hitter. Instead of understanding, listen, I got to play this game and it's 1 pitch at a time. We got to slow it down.
What about youth though? Because having those types of conversations with a youth player is, in my opinion, a little bit tougher because you're dealing with the game being fun. That you want them. It's not a job. You're not chasing a goal yet. You're not going after the college scholarship. I mean, there's probably a unique case out there, less than 1% that are 12 years old and already know that they want to play college baseball and are obsessing over the game. But a majority of players, they might say like, oh yeah, I want to play college baseball or I want to play pro baseball. But it's more of just like it's a dream, it's an afterthought, it's in the background, it's not in the front view mirror. How do you handle those players that are 12, 13s, and really 14s can be in that category as well?
It depends. Like if we're talking more along the lines of maybe a little tantrum here and there, they're very immature at that age for the most part. You want to kind of put your arm around them. You have to learn how to coach them. You have to learn how to connect with them. You have to learn what coach can connect with them. It's more about teaching moments. They're all teachable moments. So I want to continue to teach them to have fun and find the positive, find the excitement. The hardest thing to do is to stay the course, finding the positive in every situation. And it makes it more fun whenever you find ways that excites them. What makes them excited? You know, like, hey man, you struck out 3 times in a row. I know you slammed your helmet, but you just hit a walk-off bomb. That's all people remember, bro. And then, like 3 days later, we go to practice and you can come up with a sick little nickname where you can have some fun with it. Be like, bro, you're going to hit some bombs today? I bet I can strike you out. Now he's excited. He wants to face me. Like we kind of flip it to that energy side and make it more positive. I would say it is harder to stay the course. It's harder to do it. But I think what I've learned in our experience when we're real, like, hey guys, I just have a general question with you. If we get bases loaded and our pitcher isn't necessarily throwing strikes right now, do you feel like you're on eggshells? Do you feel like it's a lot harder? Like, are you sweating bullets? Are you like ready to throw up on the baseball field? They're like, coach, honestly, the game's really fast. Ask them questions. I think more coaches don't talk to their kids. They're more focused on talking to the parents. The parents like, you need to do better on fielding. You need to teach us how to do stealing better. No, your kids are literally out there shaking because they have bases loaded and they don't know how to stop the bleeding. They're nervous as hell, and the game speed is a little bit faster because they just leveled up. Let's slow the game down for them.
You could probably sum it down. You probably sum it down to. I know that teachers do this a lot. Is that they have to have six affirmations or six positives before they can say a negative. So like you put it in a positive light, and then when you can, then you say that negative that one time. Which, if we were doing like a writing project, and you're just focusing on grammar rather than focusing on like how to actually create a story, and giving them positive feedback off of that story. Like, hey, I really like this. It's really interesting, but have you thought about this? And doing it that way rather than saying like, hey, you didn't capitalize the letter, the word Tom, or the name Tom, and it looked completely off. Like you just completely destroyed that person's innate ability of like telling a story. It was like they're focusing on the wrong thing, which is they're focusing on that grammar rather than actually delivering a message to somebody. So it's like the same thing with baseball, where a guy runs from first to third and he hesitates, and you say, you hesitated right there. Well, did I get to third? You're like, yeah, you did. So what are we talking about? You know, like it's a matter of giving them that positive feedback. Like, hey, you went from first to third. That was awesome. That was awesome. How do you think you could have got there better? And then they start thinking about it, and then they come up with the answer of like, oh, I hesitated and didn't really commit to it. I should have just went for it. And then that's exactly what we're looking for.
That's it. If you communicate with them, that's all you need. And I don't think it happens enough.
I would agree that there's not many. Now, I would say the coaches in general don't ask a lot of questions. It's more of this telling, like I'm telling you to do something, rather than asking as many questions as you possibly can throughout a practice or throughout a game, because it gets the kids thinking, gets the players to think about what they're about to say. It gives them that creativity outlet.
It definitely, you can flip it as they get older. Yeah, can you hear me now?
I got you. Yep, we're back.
I mean, you could flip it too as you get older. Like I'll give you an example of a kid who He's a really good athletic kid, and he wants to play shortstop. But I mean, I'll be brutally honest with you. A lot of colleges see him as a center fielder because he is lightning fast. And the dude can lay down a bunt and be safe at first 9 out of 10 times, unless he hits it directly at the pitcher. The kid's good, but laterally, you're not necessarily as fast as you are when you're going north-south, right? So he really wants to play some shortstop, and he's played some shortstop, but he never plays position well. And no one ever coached him. No one ever talks to him about that in school. They kind of just shaft him and throw him in the outfield. So I'm like, hey, look, I said, here's a question for you. You really want to play this position. You want to play it more, right? And you know you're a hell of an outfielder. So why do you feel that you made those 2 errors in that inning right there? Just a fall game where we're just learning, right? He goes, I have no idea. Like, you have no clue. Like, what went through your mind? Like, what were you thinking about? Like, take me through the process. Let me play with you. Let me understand it. It was like, I don't know. I was just kind of standing there waiting for the ball to get hit. And I was like, do you think that that's a good way to be prepared for the ball coming at you 85 miles an hour? You think if it's left and right, you're going to be able to move? He goes, yeah, not really. I was kind of in concrete. I'm like, okay. And you're playing in the base path at shortstop. Does that seem normal to you? Where's this guy playing right now? This guy's really good. He's committed. Where's he going? Oh, he's going here. Okay, so what's he doing? Oh, man, look at his range. It's crazy. What's the difference between where you're playing and where he's playing? He's 7 feet behind where I play. So that automatically gives him that much more range, right? He goes, yeah. I said, you got the speed. You have the confidence. Why don't you just trust yourself and ball the hell out and get dirty? Lay out. Have some fun. Nobody cares. It's a fall game. I just want to see what you can do. Show me what you can do. Give me a pre-pitch step. Get yourself prepared and shine and show yourself what your abilities are. Impress yourself and see what you're capable of and push yourself and challenge yourself. Let me see what you can do. 3 unassisted double plays, 3 diving catches, all within that same game. He came back in. He goes, Coach, this is probably the most real anyone's ever talked to me. I say, how's that the most real? That doesn't make any sense. He goes, you called me out for playing the position completely wrong, but you didn't like make it like you're a jackass. You like talked to me. That's all I did, right? Like I wasn't hard on the kid. I want him to like make me feel what he was feeling and put me into the process and coach me through it. I think sometimes we forget to have the kids coach us to make sure they're understanding what we're giving them. Thing to see.
Yeah, early in my coaching career, I was very adamant of like, I was like, oh, I'm going to tell them exactly the things that I struggled with and like how to actually play this game and all of that. And then probably right before COVID, that's when it kind of flipped for me. It's like, man, these kids just want to have fun. They want to be able to enjoy playing the game, and the adults are kind of ruining the game when they try to make it more like a job and like, oh, you can aspire to be a college or a professional player. Like that stuff is great. Chasing that stuff is great. And then when you do get a player that wants to chase it, that's when you can start being more hard on them. And because you know what it takes to get there. But majority of kids, they say that they want that, but in reality, it's again, like I said, it's in the background. It's background music. You don't. It's not in the foreground. It's not the thing that you're chasing yet. You can tell when a person is chasing something. They get very obsessive about it, and they keep on thinking about it. Like my cousin is like that right now. Well, he was like that when he got to be a freshman. He's like, I want to play college baseball. And it was kind of like, do you really want to play college baseball? And about junior year, that's when it kind of clicked. He started really wanting it. And that's when we started getting very, very deep into the weeds of like, this works, this doesn't work. Like I have a lesson with him today, and I was talking to his mom. He just signed with a junior college for a typical, like got overlooked. He should be at probably a Division I or a high Division II. His mom said, Jake told me that I asked him how the lessons were going with Spiker, and he said he yells at me when I miss hit a baseball. And I started laughing. I was like, because I didn't tell her this, but in my head, I'm thinking it's because I know what it takes. I know that he wants that. And she asked, like, do you like that? And he was like, no, I like it because he's telling me immediately that was not a great swing. And now I can make that correction a lot easier. But if I did that to a 12-year-old or a 13-year-old, it would demoralize him. He'd be in like a straitjacket and be just like, I don't want to play this game anymore. It's just not fun. I don't want to do it anymore. You're nitpicking me. But then that nitpicking changes totally into, I want that nitpicking when you are obsessively trying to perfect a craft.
Sure.
Which every player gets there at some point if they're chasing after a goal like college or professional baseball.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's a great way to put it.
What from another coaching perspective on finding players?
Mhm.
I know tryouts are big. Like, what's your knack of trying to recruit players to your teams?
I think the biggest thing in your market, you have to see the competition, you have to see what you offer. And I think a lot of times people get lost in what everyone else does instead of doing what you do. And what you do is what you do. And if you wholeheartedly believe in what you do, you'll make adaptations and adjustments to be better and see where you have to grow or add things. But you sell the culture, you sell the whole package. And you listen to people because there's certain things that you have to do to sell the program for certain players, where maybe it's the showcasing of where we play. That's all they get. That's all they care about. That's it. And you don't have to give them the whole thing. You just tell them exactly what you do and how you help them. Then there's other people who are like, man, I really want to practice. Like, we don't practice at all. We don't train. We don't do this. Or we didn't really have great coaches, or maybe just tell the kids just didn't care. We just want kids that want to play. We want kids that want to have fun. If you actively listen, that's how you guide that, and you just tie it back into your own culture. So you have to have a brand. You have to have a culture. You are the brand. You are the culture. So you can do all the marketing on the planet. You can throw ads out there. You can talk to people. We do our best to get our players to bring in other players. We have our families try and get in other players. What we've learned that works the best is bring people into the program, let them train with us, let them meet our staff. And once they kind of get to see our staff, it's completely free. We don't charge for tryouts anymore.
And this is for like this could work for both an individual team and multiple teams, right? I'd say that'd be great for
Either one. Bring them in. I don't
want this conversation to get totally muddy on the director side of things of trying to
Sure.
build out 3 or 4 teams. Because I want this conversation to be really targeted towards a single team. But you're saying that those ideas that you have right now, which is I have a North Star, I'm going to be who I am. This is the thing that we're really worried about, and then being able to speak that over and over again, that's going to attract players to your squad.
Yes, absolutely. And you're going to find the right people. You don't want to go out there and find outliers. You want to find the right people. And you don't just want the kids. You want good families on top of it. So, and I've gotten much better at saying, look, this isn't just an experience for your kids. It's also an experience for you. Like, we try and simplify and communicate and give you everything. That's a big piece of it. But I also feel sometimes people rush. If you get to a point where you might need 1 or 2 kids and you're like, man, I just can't find them. I don't know what I'm doing. Stay the course. It's not hard to find someone throughout the course of the off season. People are going to look all the time. And like, I laugh because if you just look at the demographics of within like a 30-mile radius of where you live, how many millions of people are there? You need 2. You don't have to kill yourself and go crazy trying to find 1 or 2 players. Find the right players, right? Like, that matters. You're fine if you have 10 guys. If you're a younger squad, you're trying to build a team up, I recommend not overinflating the numbers, because then people instantly think their kid will not play. But make sure that you do your due diligence and don't overload a position. We're open with them that you're going to play multiple positions. There's times that we're going to rotate through. You might be pitching, then you might come in and just hit after you're done. But you have to do it the right way, and you just have to communicate. You just have to continue to communicate. Go into different groups, networking, and just have conversations. I know social media is great and it's also crazy in the same breath, but even if you don't do it personally, do it for yourself, for your team. Showcase your team. Just get eyes on you. You can get 1 million eyes on you all you want. Over time, the more they see you, the more comfortable they get with who you are. You can't just say, hey, this is who I am. You have to show them. You have to tie that emotional side. Let them see and feel what it would feel like to be part of your program, your team specifically, and invite them in to try it out and see what you could get out of it. And if you do a great job and you have a great core, those kids are going to sell the program to that new kid for you. It's that much easier.
I know private schools are big in Pittsburgh and they're big here in St. Louis, but that's kind of one of the things that that they do really well is when they recruit um, new students, they let them come to shadow a day in life of a student and a student athlete, and it really opens the eyes of that student and be like, oh, I could totally see myself here. And then also it tells them, oh, I don't see myself here either. Like that's not my place. So like I feel like that's really a good idea for teams is invite players to come into your practice and practice with you and have them do a day in life of a practice or a couple training sessions, and then they have an idea of like what this program is, and if they like you as a coach, and the parents can actually interact with other parents when they come in. It really gets them more in line with like, yeah, this is I could see myself here, or thanks for the offer, but I don't think this is the fit for us.
Yeah, absolutely.
Um, when you try out kids, would you try them out before you have them come to the training session, or would you go for the reverse?
We offer both. It kind of depends on what their availability is and what they're looking for. Some people really just want to come in and try out, like they're available tomorrow and they'll come in and try out. If they're on the fence and they're not, like, if I could tell right away you're not going to sign with me that day, I immediately make sure I actively listen. I say, what I would love to recommend, and these are the two things I'll leave people with. Why don't you come in and come to a few practices, or at least we're hitting tomorrow. We're doing speed and agility Saturday. Come in and hang out. Come in and see what it's like. Meet some of the parents, get him involved with some of the different teammates that we have here. And I said, the biggest thing for me at the end of the day is it has to be a good fit for both of us. And it might be a great fit for us, but you might not have all the information, or you might not know exactly, or maybe it's a financial commitment. You want to make sure that it fits for him, whatever the case may be. We want it to be a right fit for both of us, sir. Come try it out. They will normally come in and try it out, and they will go through and do it. I've gotten really good at grabbing a large audience, listening to them specifically, whether I do the tryout or the head coaches or the other coaches on the team do the tryout. And that way now it's almost like a free analysis. We give them exactly where they are. We give them details. We coach them up. We don't push them, but we coach them up, see how they respond to it. If we don't give you an offer on the spot, then we don't feel like you're a good fit. But we tell you, this is how we could help you. I think it's really good at listening and getting them in there. But we've also had kids just come flat out and practice with us, and they fall in love with it. They're like, yeah, we're ready. Where do we sign? You don't even have to open your mouth. You don't have to say anything. It sells itself.
What's your process when you don't want a player for a tryout, and what's your process when you do want a player for a tryout?
Verbalize it right away. We'll put things there in.
Brett, you broke up a little bit. Could you go back and repeat that?
Yeah. So we do one of two different things. If we want you right away, we'll verbalize it, and then we'll send you our little PDF packet that we have. We'll send you all the details, the link to register, ask if there's any other questions, whatnot. Pretty simple, straightforward. If we don't want them, we'll give them their details of their evaluation. Normally what we'll do is we'll go through the goods and the things that they could work on, and then we'll send them an entire evaluation in an email. We have the fortunate ability to have the training center there. So if it's someone that we don't necessarily feel would be a good fit for the team specifically, we'll offer training opportunities for them, and where we feel they could be more suited into getting better to be more prepared. And sometimes that does work out. Sometimes that actually works out really well. Sometimes they say, forget you, I'm going to go play somewhere.
Yeah. I feel like players knowing their numbers is a good thing. I know back 5-6 years ago, not many people gave those numbers out after tryouts, that now it's like almost normal. I do think you have to walk a fine line of telling them what they need to work on, like trying to make sure that you kind of smooth that over really well instead of like being very cold cut and honest. Because as much as I love honesty, when you are vulnerable and the kid is putting themselves out there on a tryout, you just don't want to like undercut them and say like, this is bad, that's bad. I don't even know why you play this game. Like, you don't want to do that. because that's not productive whatsoever. But I do think that there is some room there where you can give them some positive things that they can work towards. Like I always think, can you say something that you like and how they can improve on that thing that you like?
Yeah.
Because I'm always of the belief that you want more players in this game, not less players, and you want to grow this thing, the sport in general, because it's going to help a lot of people out as they get after they stop playing. There's just so many life lessons that you get from playing this game, and I feel like if they can continue to love the game outside of high school and college and professional, or if they play professional but outside of college, like I get a kick out of it when players are still playing in a men's league game. Like they love it that much that it's kind of an outlet for them to get away from the busyness of life and all the stress that you're dealing with during work. You can actually relieve it out on a game.
Absolutely.
So I want to end it there. What's going on in Pittsburgh? Kind of give us a 411 on the coaching staff, the players. How's everything going in Pittsburgh?
It's going really well. We adapted a few different things here personally. Like fall baseball has gotten much bigger with high schools. So I mean, football's huge, soccer's huge. So we kind of kicked off strength training and speed agility in a different format. Kids love our workouts better than high school, I think, because we have a real trainer doing baseball workouts. We kind of revamped a lot of our things. Like we did progressions, and you saw some of that last year. We started the Futures app, which is awesome because sometimes they get tired of hearing our voice. So they have pro players explaining why they do things. They do it wrong and they go back to do it right. We started giving them things to do. I'm in their back pocket 24/7, and our coaches, it's making them smarter. And the progressions that we have and amplifying certain things, we have a lot more buy-in across the board. We have a lot of former Tiger players as coaches this year. I think we have 5 total, which is pretty awesome. They want to get back to the game. So that, to me, that speaks volumes on the culture. And without having to say it, when people learn that, they're like, wow, this is incredible. You played for Tim? Like he got you into college? Yeah. And now you're back coaching? That's incredible. I'd love to play for you. How do we make this happen? But the buy-in is awesome, and like their desire and hunger to want to coach the kids. And I think the biggest flip for us is a lot of other programs, they just go out there and they tell the kids what to do. They're not really coaching them. They want to play the best kids and win. We give you the opportunity to physically coach. You get to mentor the kids. You get to teach them. And they fall in love with the game all over again.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, thanks for jumping on this conversation and helping out with the project. And guys, if you have any questions on the Pittsburgh location, you can find Tim's information on the website under the About Us section. See ya.